Okay, so again, I must apologise to everyone for having such a long video, but I just can't seem to get the points over I want to in such a short video, like a 15 or 20 minute video. But this is definitely worth watching through if you can find the time. Get yourself comfy, sit down, grab a drink or something, and there's some really good bits of information, and if nothing else, there's some really nice shots of the FX impact and its sort of workings and so on here. So here we go, hope you enjoy it, sit back, and I hope you can take all this sort of info in one go. Cheers for now. Hello again everyone, thanks again for clicking on one of my videos, and if you're new to the channel, then a very nice welcome to you guys. Please consider subscribing, and of course if you do like this video, give it a thumbs up and a click on the button below. So obviously this video is about my FX Impact M3. Here it is in all its glory, if you like. I've got to call it a review because it's exactly what it is, I guess, but it's more about my thoughts about the gun, my experiences with the gun. Now, I should call it more of a field review, I guess, because 90% of the use of this is for pest control. That's what I do. I do very little target or bench shooting. In fact, the only sort of target or bench shooting I do is when I'm testing, re-zeroing, stuff like that. So it's really a field review, and my experience of this gun in the last sort of year that I've had it, just under a year I think I've had this gun, and yeah, just to let you know the pluses, the minuses, what I like, what I don't like, etc, etc, and really my opinions of it, and usage of it in the field for pest control. There's various bits and pieces I've got in front on my bench as well to maybe talk to you about. I try and keep the video down, but normally these videos of mine go on and on and on because I can talk about these sort of things forever. But what I will do is I'll get the camera closer in so you haven't got to look at my ugly mug anymore, and you can get a closer look at this, and I'll show you around the gun and all the bits and pieces of it. But there it is, just quickly, so you can get a much better, wider angle view look at it. Take a look below. Obviously bits below is the second regulator, the fill port there. Underside, I'll talk you through the bits and pieces and what I've found from them and thought of them, etc. there. Now, just so you know, if you're interested, bits and pieces that aren't FX obviously here. The scope, this is it's a fairly new thing on the market, but this is the Pulsar Digex C50 that I've just put on there. I've got a couple of videos out now with this on this rifle, and then on the front here, this is a UTG, I think it's a UTG 360 bipod. And it's actually, I should promote this a bit more because it's actually an excellent bipod for the money. Okay, it's not Accutac or Atlas quality, but it's about a quarter of the price, and what it does for that money and the actual build quality and everything is really brilliant. The scope, you know, that's quite an expensive scope, but look at that beautiful lens. It is a day and night scope, and probably the best one that you can get out there. Okay, so I'll get you in closer and we'll walk around these bits and pieces and I'll talk you through them. Okay, welcome back everyone. Now, just to kind of reiterate, or to say, I should really call this kitchen review, shouldn't I? Because it's always in the kitchen. I've got no fancy studios or anything like that. But just to say, everything you see here and everything I'm talking about, I've purchased with my own money, own hard-earned money. So all my views and experiences that I would speak about here are all my own personal views and opinions and so on. So let me pick the rifle up. I'll try as quickly as I can to talk you around all the bits and pieces, and then perhaps I'll go to the one bits and pieces individually that I think I need to talk about and so on with it. So again, it's just a straightforward camera I've got here, inbuilt microphone, everything. I'm hoping the autofocus is going to work. But so starting at the back as you typically do, butt pad, adjustable from that knob, slides up and down, very basic, but obviously works, does what it says. There's the magazine slot, and it's held in by this, clicked in. I do find it a little fiddly to put in occasionally and so on. There's the magazine. The less I say about that the better, probably, if you see my other videos and so on. Let's go over it quickly, and I'm going to really try not to go on about it. The concept of this magazine is excellent, it's brilliant. In practice, it sticks all the bloody time on me. I've tried a million things to fix it. It keeps sticking. My personal view, I'd rather have two 10-shot magazines that work perfectly every single time, rather than this one that just keeps sticking and sticking and sticking. Okay, enough said about that. But yeah, side shot magazine. This is in .25, I think it's like a 25 round mag, more in 22 in 177, less in .30. Second regulator gauge there. I should mention maybe the gauges have been upgraded on the M3 to wicker ones, probably won't see, so they're meant to be a bit more sort of accurate. Power plenum, obviously this is an FAC, high power. I think the 12 foot-pound ones you don't get this big, but do your own research and double check on that. But yeah, that's power plenum there. Grip, I have changed, I'll talk to you about that in a bit. But as you can see, yeah, there's a grip there. Trigger, standard kind of FX trigger. It's excellent, multi-adjustable for position and weight. This is a 2-stage trigger, and yeah, it's really excellent. Safety, again, it's kind of excellent, although I do have a little bugbear about it, but it is perfectly in the right place. It's only on this side, not on the other side, but when you've got your hand there, it's so easy just to switch on and off with your finger or your thumb if you're kind of there. But they've changed it on the M3, so where it used to be you push forward to fire, they've now changed it that you pull it back to fire. Not a lot really, it's perfectly usable, it just niggles me in my head that I should be doing that to fire in that, but there you go. Side lever cocking is excellent, it's quite short throw, it's very easy to cock even in high power like this is, with the spring fully sort of adjusted up high. You can swap the lever from this side to the other side, so that's excellent. And yeah, it is really good, and it is also de-cockable. Yep, really good. Bottle pressure on that gauge there, 250 bar fill pressure. Carbon fibre wrapped bottle, aluminium underneath. 580cc I think that is, because it's a high power version, so that's really good. And that little silver bit, as you see in there, is your first regulator, and the gauge for that is on the other side. I'll show you in a minute. Picatinny rail here I have changed again, I'll talk to you about that in a minute. Multiple Picatinny rails around the sides of it, which is excellent, allows you to mount your torches and your rangefinders, etc. Picatinny scope rail, I think it's got 20 MOA built into it. Again, Picatinny mount is excellent, it's really good for repeatable, etc. Shrouded barrel with the usual superior liner system in it. The usual FX empty aluminium silencer on the end, which I'm constantly thinking of upgrading obviously to a Donny FL, but they are a lot of money, and this does a surprisingly very good job for what it is, as I keep saying. Just before, full port, Foster, straightforward, seen it all before. Nice little cover, works very well. Oh, also in there is the adjustable valve sort of tension spring on it there. Let's spin it around. So there's your first regulator gauge. Power wheel adjustment, I talked about that in a minute. Excellent feature. And if you can see on this one, I've got a Magpul sling sort of adapter on there, which slings are another bugbear. Perhaps we'll have a chat about that. So that's all the bits and pieces. Now I'll switch it off, think about what we need to speak about, and then let's do an overview of the bits and pieces that we really need to talk about. Okay guys, I think first of all I'll speak about the changes that I've made to the rifle. And first off, let's talk about the grip. As you can see, I've changed the grip on it to this one, which is a much thicker, softer, grippier grip. I've got the original FX one in front of me here that I've changed. Now, let's be honest, there's nothing at all wrong with that grip, nothing at all wrong with it. It's just personal preference to change it to that. What I didn't like about this one is it's a little bit too, and I've got quite small hands, I'm not a big chap by any means. It's a bit slim. It's perfectly usable. I would be happy if this wasn't interchangeable, it wouldn't put me off the rifle one bit. I could use this all the time. But it's a little bit slim. More importantly, it's very hard and stiff. It does get quite cold in the winter, and I don't know, when it's just not quite right, as opposed to this one. If you can see, it's a much thicker palm swell type one. Now this isn't an ergo, is it ergo grip or something? It's exactly the same, but much cheaper than that I found online. And this is quite a springy, softy rubber. It's really grippy and it's really warm to touch, and it just gives you a much more feeling that you've got hold of the rifle on it there, if you like. Next change was the Picatinny rail and trigger guard part. I mean, that worked okay. It's just, if you've got your bipod on it there, it's just not a good balance point. It's better obviously to have it further away. Now the trend is to get Sabre tactical bits, isn't it, on these rifles? They almost integrated with FX, and Sabre tactical parts are wonderful. Yep, they're really good. You can get adjustable butt stops for them, adjustable cheek pieces, everything, and they're very good. But they come at a price. That's because they're exceptionally well made, of course. Now, this trigger guard Picatinny rail I bought for about 1/3 of the price of Sabre tactical one, and it's excellently made. It's not quite as long, doesn't quite have as much Picatinny to it, but it does the job excellently. And I believe I bought this one from Humor Air. Even sent me a pen. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what I bought. And for the money, it's really excellent. It fits perfectly. It looks as though it's made part of the rifle. Works really well. And to have your bipod that far forward, yeah, it's really, really good. And the only other thing I've changed really, which is not visible, is the liner in the rifle. So this is the standard Superior Smooth Twist X Superior liner that came with the rifle, and an excellent liner that is. It really is excellent. Now this one will shoot pellets all day long fantastically, and it will shoot slugs pretty well, various slugs. These are all the things I've kind of tried with it, but when shooting slugs out of the Superior liner, there's definitely an open out of spread on them, or it seems like you get several flyers out of a 10 shot group. So I've put the Superior Heavy liner in here, which it took me a long time to get actually, because they were out of stock for a long time. And again, Humour Air had one in stock. Now Humour Air, I'm in England, in the UK, southwest of England. Humour Air is based in the Netherlands, I think it is. But yeah, the postage service, do everything online is excellent from them. But the Superior Heavy has definitely tightened up the groups with the slugs. So there's something else really we need to speak about. If you think you're going to buy one of these rifles, okay, especially in FAC form like this, buy yourself some slugs like these, or these, shove them in the rifle and start shooting rabbits, pigeons, squirrels at 100 yards or 125 yards or 150 yards, etc, etc, like those fabulous guys from South Africa and America that you see. You will probably be mistaken. Okay, pellets are so easy to shoot because inherently they are stable themselves. Yeah, the shape of a pellet inherently makes it stable, and they're dead accurate. All you do is set your rifle to 850, 900 feet per second, and it's kind of pellet on pellet, however you sort of shoot it. But the slugs will take testing, time and effort to get them right, where I'm kind of where I'm happy, I think, with them now. I finally ended up with H&Ns because they're excellent value for money more than anything else. Hybrids shoot really well out of them. Hybrids shot really well out of the Superior liner, as you would expect, but they're so expensive. But I did have some 30 grain H&Ns which were going well, but at 100 yards they had a little bit of a spread. These are 34 grain 249s that seem to be working really well. I retuned it, put a bit more power into it, 34 grains. I've got some 34 grains 250s as well to try, but these I've stopped at the moment because these are shooting so well out of it. So you will need to tune your rifle to get it to its optimum efficiency, if you know what I mean, and I'm definitely no expert at that, and it's taken me a long time to get the slugs where I want them, where I'd be happy to be shooting pests at 100 yards and so on, really. So that's everything that I've changed on the rifle. So let me have a rethink about the bits and pieces that I really need to speak to you about, a couple of sort of accessory bits that I've got and so on. Okay everyone, first off, before I carry on, I think what I should sort of say is I've got the Superior Heavy liner in there, like I said on it. It still does shoot pellets really well, especially these sort of ones, the heavies and so on. But it'll shoot the Hades. Now I use the Hades for squirrel shooting typically at about 30 yards or so, and it'll shoot those at 30 yards pellet on pellet easy, really well. They do open up a bit the further you go, as you would expect, unlike these sort of heavies and so on. These still shoot out of here at any distance pretty damn accurately. So let's get on and talk about a few bits and pieces I want to talk about. So one of the main things to talk about for me is the cocking. Now, it's a dream. It cocks like a dream. They put this little hydraulic-y, springy bit there that makes it closing really nice. Open, you know, it's a dream. But again, with the FXs, there's no way of knowing when your vehicle's cocked or uncocked. There's no indication anywhere on it. Okay, which is understandable the way it's designed. Blah blah blah. You know, okay. Also, the rifle will double load every time you do that. If you've got the magazine and pellets in, every time you do that, you'll shove another pellet in the barrel. Talking about the barrel, perhaps I should also say, you're probably familiar with, in its port there, where the pellet goes into, it's got two ports. A large hole that you would select for shooting pellets, and at 180 degrees from that, it's got two large slots that you use for shooting slugs. But yeah, so every time you do that, if you've got the magazine there, if the magazine cycles, yeah, you will put another pellet in there. Now, when I first had the rifle, I did get caught a couple of times on that, and I don't know in the world how I did it. I don't know if it was problems with the magazine not cycling, and I went like that, it hasn't cycled, and I did it again, and perhaps I put another pellet in. But one of the other main things, like I say, I carry this rifle around in the field doing all sorts of bits, and if you're going to see this very well without me going, but this lever, look at that. Okay, it takes nothing for it to drop down like that once it's cocked. So if it's cocked and I've got a magazine there and I'll close that again, I've put another pellet in the barrel. And I think I got caught out a few times like that, where I was carrying, where I was doing something, perhaps it just moved a little bit. It's not got to go all the way back, you know, just got to go there, and a few times I think I got caught out with that. So, usual thing, what you've got to know there is, if I decock it, now you can see there's a preload, because it's against the spring. Once it's cocked, the spring is cocked and there's no resistance, no preload. So when it's like that, there's a preload. So when you've got it in this position and you've just got to go like that and feel that bit of preload. If you feel that bit of preload, you know you haven't cocked it. You cock it, load it, away you go. If you go like this and it just feels really loose, you know you've already cocked it, and just got to make sure you don't come back too far to load another one. Otherwise you've got to quickly yank out your magazine and put it back in. You might be thinking, well, that's pretty straightforward, you should know whether you've got one in there or not. But with me, sometimes when I'm shooting, I might not take a shot for 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, an hour, and I'm thinking to myself, did I recock it? I always try not to recock it, so it's not, spring isn't always under tension. But sometimes you take a shot and you think, was that a perfect shot? There's a lot of movement on your quarry, and you reload it to take a second shot, and then you realise, no, it's actually dead, it's expired. And now I've recocked the rifle, and 30 minutes later I might go to take a shot and think, well, I never cock, I don't normally, and I got it, oh, there's no tension there, I've cocked it. So that's a little bit, but in the field that's sometimes caught me out, because look at that. It takes absolutely nothing just to, and that little spring, which makes it so nice when you're like this to close, doesn't clunk. It actually hinders if you've got a bit of angle on it, straight down. So let's decock that. There's one little thing in the field that I've found. I would like to say a really good thing. Let's talk about these adjuster wheels. This system's excellent, yeah? I'm sure you've all seen it before. With the wheels there. And that micro adjuster. So, the regulators, to adjust the regulators, on the front one, you take the bottle off. You can take the bottle off without degassing anything. You lose a bit of pressure. And in the end of this silver bit, there's a hole. You put an Allen key in it and twist it very slightly. It only takes less than a quarter of a turn to make a big difference. So be very careful if you adjust it. And that adjusts the front regulator, bottle pressure from there. The second regulator you probably won't see is quite hard to adjust. The little Allen key at the back of the trigger there. But you've probably seen lots of other people doing it. So, 2 regulators are adjustment, and then you adjust it via these 2 wheels to get the exact sort of speed that you want. Now, what I tend to do is, remember, get it all set. So for instance, if I want to shoot Hades from this, there's my tin of Hades. On the back I've got written, to get it in 907 feet per second at 50 foot-pounds, I need to put the power wheel on 9 and the little adjuster wheel on 0.5. It was on 0.25, but I've adjusted the regulator slightly and that's just gone up a little bit. Yeah, so just like that. I just put things on the back of the tins and you can adjust it almost spot on. It normally takes this wheel a little bit of twiddling with it to get it exactly where you were, but for my use, it's almost bang on. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to make a difference in my point of impact at 30 yards or 50 yards. The feet per second that you'll get to might be 10 or 20 feet per second out. It's pretty damn accurate. So I can generally get away without putting the radar, FX radar thing on in double checking. But I tend to do that when I'm swapping from one to the other. Quickly put it on there, check you've got what you want, and away you go. So that is an excellent system. Much better than the little Allen key that you used to have to put in before. And this wheel is much better numbered 1 to 16 than that other rubbish where they had the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 A, B, C, D, E on the other sides. Much better system that. Much better system. My other thing I want to talk about, bugbear, and it's slings. Now you can see from the style of the rifle, it's very difficult to put a sling on this, it would be. Perhaps I'll get rid of this table in a minute and I'll show you what I've done to do it. But basically, yeah, I've got this little sling hook there. I've got a Magpul single point sling, and I'll show you that when I get rid of this. I'll insert a bit of video hopefully for you guys and you can see exactly how I use that. But for a rifle like this and this sort of price, I still think they could do something. Now my other rifles, when I say other rifles, not air rifles, my other rifles, so cartridge, powder rifles, they've all got sling studs on them. Literally all of them. And even the ones that are chassis built, or when you buy a chassis to take the wooden stock, let's say, off of a rifle and you put a steel chassis system, you probably know what I mean. They've all got these little holes in them somewhere where you can put a quick release sling stud or something for it. And I'm sure they could incorporate in this frame somewhere just one of those little round holes that you can press a quick release sling into, because like I say, in the field I've got to carry this. Sometimes I'm walking quite a distance, sometimes I'm walking here, there and everywhere, and if I've not got anything else with me, it's not a problem. It's easy to carry. Okay, that's something else perhaps to talk about, is its compactability, you know, its compactness. So this is a 700 meter barrel. I don't know what the length of it is. It's about 1 metre in length. So the barrel goes all the way back to here. And its usability, I'm sorry you're not going to see an awful lot. The way it fits in your shoulder and so on is really nice. But the best thing is, obviously it's a ball pup. And it's not like you're waving a broom handle around in front of you. It's really compact, even with a 700mm barrel like that. But sling studs, carrying it around, because I'm often carrying a tripod and maybe a little seat or a bag, or I've got my backpack and I'm carrying lots of bits and pieces. Probably carry way too much I never need to, but that's just me. Got to have somewhere for me coffee and so on. So yeah, it would be really nice just to have a sling stud sort of thing put on it. For someone like me, it would make a world of difference. Okay guys, so slings for the FX Impact. My answer to it is this one. There are many variations I'm sure out there. This is a Magpul single point sling, I think that's what you call it. You can take this apart like that, then that catches on there. There's a little thing that flicks over, it stops it from undoing and coming off, but effectively that just goes over yourself like that, and it's got this hook that jams on there and a spring loaded release. Don't know if the camera's picking it up, and that's pretty secure. So with the FX Impact, like that, I've got this, again I'm hoping it's focusing, sling adapter on there, another Magpul little bit. You can get various makes, copies, everything, but get something that's absolutely secure because you don't want it to break and drop on the floor. So I get that, I hook it in that little ring, click it closed, and there it is. You can't see where, and it lets me have my hands free. Now it's by far, it's not like having the rifle on your shoulder, it's swinging around and it can be a pain in the ass. With this particular one you can adjust it. I can, like that, tighten it up, that's quite nice, leave it there. I quite often put it around the side of me. I've normally got a backpack on, so I can't kind of stick it right around the back where it probably would be most beneficial, but down the side of me it's quite alright because I can just put my arm against it and stop it swinging around. I can walk around quite nicely, and that works really well, really well. I can still get it up to my eye, especially if I give it a bit more length. I just got to do that, and now I've got much more freedom. I can do a standing shot, but even more importantly is this little, all I do with that is just got to pull that, off it comes. I can put it on the floor, I can now take a high shot, a low, anything I want, and it's just that simple to reattach. Tighten it up a bit, and there it is. So that's what I do in the field. Now that doesn't always work perfectly for me because with different rifle scopes I have to put this in a different position. Sometimes I have to put it further up, and when it's further up it doesn't balance down like that so well. It ends up like that, which is a pain in the arse then, and you kind of have to walk around with your elbow on it like that. But yeah, that works actually really well for what it is. It's nowhere near as comfortable as just having it on your shoulder and you take it off and away you go. But yeah, that works really well. The other little thing that you might have seen in my videos, I'll show you, is this abomination bodge job of a block of wood in a bit of Picatinny. That actually works superbly well. It's one of the best things I've got. So that, I won't fix it on, but that quite simply just goes on the bottom of there. And if you've seen my videos with the bog carbon fibre tripod, that fits in the grip, and yeah, it just works exceptionally well, because there's nowhere to put this rifle in that apart from grabbing it on the bottle, and the weight is so far at the back you really got to crank that up really tight. So this little block of wood and bit of Picatinny that I've screwed onto it is an amazing bit of kit. I put it on there, it grips in the bipod, works well. And I'll tell you something else, when that is on it, when I've taken it out of the bipod to do a freehand shot, that block of wood becomes an amazing, comfortable hamster. Works really well. So there's a couple of little ideas for you guys that go out in the field. If not out in the field and you're a bench shooter, like you see most of these people kind of shooting online, they're shooting off of benches or off the side of their vehicle with plenty of space, then not needed. But for my application, that Magpul sling, yeah, this, so easy, take it on and off, and a little block of wood, works really well. Hope that helps a lot of you out. Any questions, comments below, and yeah. Now the last sort of things before I do a sum up of what I like and dislike, if you like, is I do hear a lot of people having problems with them, and I think that's inherently because the complex or complicity of the rifle. There is an awful lot of bits to this rifle, an awful lot of nuts, bolts, seals, individual components and everything to it. Obviously my big bear is simply the magazine. I don't think that's always fit for purpose. Let me know in the comments below. I'm sure there's plenty of you. At the moment I'm not touching it because it's working the best it's ever worked. Okay. Plenty of people have had problems with them. I guess plenty of people say they've never had problems with them, but that's the biggest bugbear. When the rifle was delivered, I did have a problem with it. I had an air leak from it. It was only a small air leak. If I filled the rifle up and went out shooting, I never knew the difference. But typically I found out I filled the rifle up, the weather was terrible, I put it back away for the weekend, got it back out, and I'd lost about 20 psi, 20 bar out of it, and realised somewhere around there was a little air leak, and it was leaking out of the Foster fitting that I tightened up myself. I think I've resolved it, but you know, it's disappointing, and I hear a lot of little stories and so on like that. But apart from that, it's been absolutely reliable. Apart from me double loading it when I first had it a few times, that was a real bugbear. I had to take the barrel out, get the pellets out of it, etc, etc. So let me talk about good and bad points. Good points is its manufacture. Yeah, I mean, it's made to the highest possible quality. It's finished absolutely brilliantly. Its design, I do like its design. Its bullpup, everything like that is fantastic. To be able to adjust it as easily as you can to adjust to your different forms of ammunition, and if you've got the time and the money, you can literally adjust this to shoot any. There's just been knockouts. I still didn't get it, and I'm nearly out of them to get it to fire right. I'm sure if I took more time and effort, I could get them to fire. I mean, they were firing good, but I wasn't happy with the groups at like 100 yards. They were this size with a few overs, which isn't bad by any means. But I mean, some flyers were right out here and so on, and they weren't grouped together. They were all spread out, that sort of size, which is no good for pest control. So yeah, I mean, I really like the look of it. The side lever cocking is excellent. Apart from that, when it is cocked, it's very loose. But like I say, all these things have a plus and a minus, and that is excellent slide lever cocking, and you've got to put up with that, with the no indication, and when it is cocked, how loose it is, and that sort of thing. You know, you've got. I really like the slug liner system where you can put different calibers even in it, different length barrels, all that. I mean, it costs probably a bit too much money, I think, for my liking, a lot of them. It'd be good if you could put a different caliber liner in without having to change the actual steel sleeve and so on that goes with it, and just maybe change the probe and the port at the end. That would make it even better. Oh, I should say with this one, not only have I put the heavy liner in it, I put the carbon fibre sleeve in it as well, because that's quite a cheap or very cheap sort of addition to it that I all got from Humour Air at it. So yeah, I certainly like that. I love the pistol grip in that side of it. I like the way it fits in your shoulder. I really like the compactness of it for a 700mm barrel. It's really good to have a 580cc bottle on it, because in this setup it certainly shoots a lot of air using those slugs. What don't I like about it? There's nothing I don't like about it. It's things that are compromised, like the barrel system. Certainly, look, sorry, has a lot of flex to it. Yeah, which isn't good. But if you're a target shooter, you'd be worried and very particular about that. Being a pest shooter, I'm not quite so bothered about that. I like the rails on it. It's really good to mount a torch or a little camera or a rangefinder or whatever. The modularity of this grip, I changed that grip out. That's really nice. The modularity of this was very good once I've changed it. Just a couple of subtle changes, it's made it really nice. So yeah, overall, I mean, it is a top of the range air rifle, and it comes with a top of the range price for this air rifle. So you've got to understand that, and you know that. But you kind of pay a little bit for what you get for. Like I say, the fit and finish of it is excellent. The adjustability, it's certainly been thought through, this rifle, so well. And for my use, pest control, it's an amazing bit of kit, especially because it's compactability for the, like I say, the size it is. It's just a shame it's just not a little bit more manageable sort of out in the field and so on, to walk around with and so on. But yeah, hope that's enlightened you a little bit. Like I say, this is just my views, field views of it. It's an excellent rifle. They're continually updating it, aren't they, with bits and pieces. But just in the more or less basic setup that I've got here, that's an amazing air rifle. And for pest control, shooting the H&N 34 grain slugs, about 985 feet per second, 64 foot-pounds of energy. It's gee whiz. It's a really good bit of kit. So yeah, anything else you want to know about it, or you want my opinion on, just put a comment in below and I'll do my best to answer it. And I hope it's given you a little bit of a good overview of the FX Impact M3. Thanks for now, and hopefully I'll get some shooting videos up soon.